Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Servando, and I am an employee here at the Quest Center. Specifically, I'm what you call a resource advocate. My job here really much entails connecting our students with a lot of the resources on campus and also off campus. So my goal today is to talk a little bit about what we do, who we are, and kind of try to tie it back to the theme of Latinx Heritage Month that I know the Pasadena City Library is celebrating this month. And so we were asked to speak, and so I just want to share just a little bit about who we are again and how we came to be as a center, because we definitely weren't here like not too long ago, actually, as a space. And so it's an effort that's been culminating for over a decade. So it's just kind of like a little rundown everyone sees on their screens of just kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit, just a little bit of the history and our mission statement. Just like a little video virtual tour, if we can get that to work just right for everybody who's tuning in. And then a little bit about our services that we do, slightly in depth to kind of give an example, and a little bit about our support groups, which are a big part of our identity, I think, for our students. And lastly, about our workshops and events that we've done in the past and also what's coming up. And at the end, just like a way to contact us as well, too. If there are any questions, yeah, I'm okay with any questions along the way, or at the end, if there are any questions about anything, I'd be glad to the best of my knowledge, go over that and cover that again, too. So let me go ahead here a little bit. So up on the screen, you should sort of see kind of our mission statement as well, too. And really the goal here was, well, QUEST is an acronym. Let me start there. QUEST stands for Career Non-Documented Empowerment Support to Thrive. And the reason we chose Thrive is because we felt that thriving for one individual can be different for a second or third individual. Some may have a goal to transfer, some may have a goal to just get a certificate of completion here on campus, and some may just have a different goal together. So thriving, we feel, is important to kind of distinguish that it's going to be different for everybody. With that in mind, though, we were created to serve two communities on campus of students who identify as undocumented, and this could be mixed status families, AB 540, for example, and or students who identify as LGBTQ. So one student doesn't have to be one or both groups. It could be one group or the other group, and we still will help the student out any way we can at the center. The goal really is to provide a safe space on campus for them that also has a few amenities, for comfort, but also for succeeding. And we feel part of that goal for us is that we don't believe that our students can succeed without, they have to sort of succeed academically, of course, but we want to make sure they can succeed also in ways, mental health wise and also physical health, kind of a holistic, all-encompassing approach. That way we know that our students can actually thrive. And one little quick fact, my understanding is that our name Quest, our students chose it. They kind of were given an option. We met with students before the center opened and in 2020 before that, and they picked out the names as well too. So there were different names thrown out, and Quest was the name that they arrived at, which I really love the name. So that's a little bit about us and our mission statement as you saw on screen. And the goal really is we're an empowerment center and we're trying to empower our students. And that's really what our kind of goal, academic success, fulfillment, and growth. So a little bit tying as well too about us, PCC since 1990 has identified as a Hispanic serving institution. And so as of currently 2022, our student population reflects about 51% Latinx students. And Latinx, very briefly, is a term that's used to kind of be more gender encompassing for folks who are gender nonconforming or non-binary, and folks who have a more gender expansive expression of identity. So we want to make sure we use that term here. We might use Latina, Latino, Latinx as well to kind of cover that as well too. But Latinx is kind of meant to sort of bridge that gap and connect with kind of our mission here at the Quest Center. And so leading into it, one of the ways that we're trying to make sure the students here are represented is it all started with the Safe Zone Coalition about a decade or so ago. And from there, they kind of determined there was a need to kind of help students out, have allies on campus that students could turn to about issues they were facing, or just talk to somebody, whether it's undocumented issues or whether it's issues of identity regarding the LGBTQ community. We really want to make sure that the students were having a safe space. And from there, that was around 2010 or so. From there, they really were trying to make sure there was a space for the students because there was a lot of work to be done. And unfortunately, the faculty, as best they tried, it wasn't enough. They recognized they needed more. And that's where the Quest Center sort of came about. And so in 2020, in spring of 2020, we opened right as the pandemic happened, right? So we had to kind of close our doors a little bit and we had to serve our students virtually. So about a year ago or so, in the fall of 2021, is when we finally got to be on campus and serve our students and sort of start helping them in person. But some of the ways that we've done it throughout the way really is kind of give you a little virtual tour as well too. And if it all works well, let me know here. If it all works well, I should be able to show you this. Let's see here. Just a moment while I get that going for everybody. Okay.
And welcome to the Quest Center.
We're excited to give you a little glimpse of your center right here on campus. We have a beautiful view of our mountains right outside of our door, but the real beauty lies inside. We're located in the R building, room 422, and in your safe space, you'll be greeted by
a friendly staff member who's always eager to support you like us.
Our center is a safe space for undocumented and LGBTQIA students. The space offers an area to relax, snack, and study. You will have access to counseling services at the center to review your educational plans and a team to help you make goals.
You can meet with the resource advocate to get you connected to different services and resources, and we also have access to free computers and free printing. Our study section includes 3 study tables that you can use for group work and a desk area for individual work.
We also host events and workshops in this space.
Inclusive to both communities, we have our monarch butterflies on our ceiling, which represents migration, and our beautiful pride flag front and center.
If you're looking for ways to transfer and continue your academic career, we have all the tools you need to succeed here at the Quest Center.
When you're ready for a study break, head over to our lounge area. This special corner is filled with art, games, upcoming events, and flyers. You can use this space to relax, recharge, and socialize with friends.
If you're feeling hungry, we have a small pantry where you can grab a snack and a microwave where you can warm up your food.
We also offer free legal immigration services where you can meet with a credible immigration attorney.
We host weekly peer support groups with friendly staff and clinicians who are here to support you.
With all that said, we can't wait to meet you in person. And again, bienvenidos.
Welcome. Welcome. Bienvenidos.
Welcome to the Quest Center.
Okay, everyone's still with me here, right? Okay, so that was a video kind of what was created by one of our resource advocates just this year, Bryce. And so they kind of put together a video to kind of like show a little bit more for our students what we're about and what we do very briefly. We also like showing this video to a lot of the students who are first year on campus who come in. And so while we serve pretty much a lot of students from on campus, the walks of life, students who identify as undocumented, can be a lot of folks. This is not necessarily one group of people specifically geographically, and same students who are LGBTQIA as well. It may not necessarily be one student. It's kind of expansive as far as who the individual can be. And so the goal here is really to just be as open as possible to all students to come in and use our resources and take advantage of what's available to them here. And so kind of a brief summary of the center. And I do want to note, since that video was made, we do have 2 spaces now. We're sort of gearing up. I'm currently in the newest space right now, IT 224 on campus, and we have R422 as well. So, we have some plans with that in the future, but we have 2 spaces that we're sort of working on in the meantime. And so the goal here is to create a space where we provide like a lounging area for our students to kind of be at, for example, laptop rentals, if they need to use a laptop for a campus assignment or something. We do have some Chromebooks that students can use during the time in the space here as well too. And then we also have like free printing services for our students if they got to print a paper for a professor who has to ask for a physical paper, right, for example. And beyond that as well too, we have a small little library. It's kind of growing. We have gotten books over the years as well too that we've gotten. We make sure our students have that or board games to play in the meantime. We also try to shout out announcements in advance of the students, or the students want to suggest like for our Spotify playlist, what music they want to hear in the center. And really all of this, I highlight that to kind of point out that we're trying to be inclusive space. And so one question we get asked is, well, I don't identify with either of those communities. Can I still come to the center? And the answer is yes. PCC students are welcome to come in of walks of life, as long as we respect the space here. Allies are definitely welcome in the space. And so that's what we want to kind of get across. Some of the services that we have are limited, just the staff we have available for that. So we do kind of prioritize and reserve them for our students who identify in the communities. But of course, anything we can do to help our students out, if they have some sort of issue with something else, wherever we can, we want to make sure our students are feel empowered. And we're only one of various empowerment centers on campus as well too. So where students, I feel pretty comfortable, can find a space here where they feel at home. They identify with folks here, and I feel PCC is doing a very good job of leading in that direction and always going towards that direction of inclusivity. So a little bit about our services, for example, just to highlight some of our main core services. Financial aid services, navigating those as well too, actually. So for example, we have the Rapid Response Emergency Aid, for example, that's RREA. We of course help and assist with navigating students with IB 540 forms, right? So if they are not from California and they kind of prove, hey, I did 3 years of high school and so on as well, to kind of prove they've been here for a while, to get like a resident tuition. We help the students assist navigate that as well. Also assist us with FAFSA and California DREAM Act forms as well too. We help students navigate that process as well to how to fill it out. We can't do it for them, of course, but we'll help students kind of get the information they need in order to accurately fill it out. We also have, of course, emergency aid as well too, and that's something that we created just for students who are in need of other assistance that's more dire, I guess I would say. I'll leave it dire. So in the past, students have come, maybe they're food insecure, and the food pantry that's on campus is great, but maybe that's not enough for them. So we might assist a student in that direction as well too. Something maybe like a grocery gift card, for example, something to kind of help them out a little bit. And so we don't have too much of that, but what we have, we want to make sure our students are able to take advantage of the services. Let's see here. Our transfer support as well too. We are still making sure that our students are thriving, and so students are planning to transfer or they need to kind of explore that. There's definitely available at CSU or UC application, how to go about that, where to go for that, one of those deadlines, or connecting with like resources for four-year universities. In the past, we've definitely partnered with other entities off campus as well too, helping students how to like apply for certain. We have basically like a workshop. We've done that in the past as well too. And we have every intention of doing that. Some of our students want to transfer. We also identify schools that have other resource centers like us as well too. They either help students who are LGBTQIA or students who are looking for dream resource centers as well too. Because I believe we are one of the few spaces in the state that have combined both communities in one. We also have helped students in the past with career development and navigation as well too. Internships and job opportunities, for example, entrepreneurship and starting your own business. This is a very important thing because a lot of our students who are undocumented, they may not have DACA. DACA, as a quick reminder for our audience, is a program that was started during the Obama administration. It would be a 2-year process, and then you would have a work permit. After 2 years, you have to kind of renew it again to keep working legally in the United States. And all it means is that you don't have a legal status necessarily, you are allowed to work. And so the government is aware of your presence in the country. And so some students may not, because of the way the current things are, there are no more new applications being processed. They take them in, but they don't process them. So what happens is students still have to kind of make money somehow. And so one of the ways is our students, we do have plans in the future for entrepreneurial workshops, as well as an upcoming event I'll mention towards the end. And so the goal is letting our students know, hey, there are the ways to make income that you'll be in a good standing. You won't break any laws if you are your own entrepreneur, you're working for yourself. So that's something we want to make sure our students are also aware about for those that don't have that means. And becoming our independent contractor, and then also navigating things like an ITIN application, an individual taxpayer identification number is what that means. One of the popular service here, where students who are trans or students who maybe survived domestic violence before in the past and they don't want to be identified, we do help with preferred name changes. And a preferred name change, basically, it's something that it won't reflect in some spaces like academic transcripts, for example, some legal documents or scholarship award, but it will reflect in things like our library, our ID card for students, our class roster. The student checks into a space like the Quest Center, it'll show their preferred name instead. So the student won't be dead named. And dead name is just a silence, basically a name that the student no longer identifies with as part of their identity. and the student wishes to no longer use that or be called by that name. And so we assist students in kind of getting that process through and making sure they can have a student ID card that reflects their identity and their name as well. And so we're really proud of that service. There are also sometimes students who maybe need assistance with a legal name change. So we do partner with an outside third party that hosts workshops and helps students through that process, and in some cases can help them with the financial part of paying for these applications to change their name. So we do have that service available to students when they need to use it. And then once the student does that service, we can help them navigate the campus and how to do that process on campus. Once you've changed your name legally, how do you update all these records to reflect that? So we walk our students through that process and help them out to make sure they're all set there as well. And I mentioned it briefly, but academic counseling, helping students set up educational plans with our success coach and our academic counselor. We also make sure our students kind of have like a class schedule and a majors exploration sort of set up for them as well, and an educational plan, you could say, making sure they're meeting transfer requirements. If they're like, hey, I want to go to Cal State Long Beach, for example, and I want to do this major, and we'll check, make sure that their classes are being met as far as requirements are being met for the specific programs that they're interested in, for example, or putting in academic questions or like any petitions for graduation. We help our students with that. As another aside, we've also individually, as a space here, we do our what we call graduations for our students who are in the LGBTQ community, for example, or our undocumented community. We call it undocumented graduation and lavender graduation. We've hosted those, through the pandemic as well too, and we did one this past spring for both communities. That was great, and so we try to make sure we have that space for our students. We give them like a little tassel, special color cord as well. That way, when they graduate, they're walking around and students are asking, "Hey, where'd you get that?" So kind of awareness and pride for our space as well too. And one other big thing as well too is we have immigration legal services that we partner with CADES in LA. And so basically the goal here is to make sure our students have access to certain needs they need it. So they need assistance with their DACA renewal, or their, maybe have a permanent residency question, or citizenship application, for example, or asylum seeking, or humanitarian visas, or even special immigration juvenile status, for example. As long as they're students at Pasadena City College, we can connect them with CADES in LA as well too. And so all of that is confidential. Myself as a staff member would never know what's going on with individuals' case and status. This is the way that kind of has to work as well, which is, we love that. We love the confidentiality for our students to have that space for them. And that doesn't happen on campus necessarily. They're currently doing virtual, but I believe because of the pandemic, when things ease up, they might go to in-person interviews if they want to do a one-on-one consultation with our lawyer in-house. But I believe it's currently still virtual for this month of September. And the goal, again, like I said, even sometimes students may have like a DACA filing fee. So there is assistance with that as well too. Or even things like knowing your rights. What are your rights as a student or as an individual who maybe somebody in DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, comes to your home? How do you sort of respond to that? So we do have Know Your Rights workshops. We also have little cards that we give out, little red cards that kind of just give a quick reminder of what are your rights if someone hopefully doesn't, but if they do find themselves in a situation like that as well. And then we also have, of course, healthcare and mental health wellness resources as well too. We have in-house referral, dental hygiene clinic as well too on campus. We've helped students in the past for hormone therapy and gender reassignment, seeking out that resource for the students, and free and or low-cost healthcare as well too in the past. And I mentioned it briefly earlier, but housing, food pantry as well too, something to kind of assist students navigate that process. Unfortunately, sometimes our students, especially in our LGBTQIA community, sometimes if they come out, that could be the difference between having a home or not having a home, unfortunately. And so we really want to be sensitive to those needs of our students and navigating that for them as well, as best as we can, to make sure they have resources connected for them as well. And so those are some of the ways we try to support our students, going over some of the main media or content of what we have here on campus first. And of course, just like a little bit of workshop and events. Throughout the year, we try to create them as well too and host them, either coinciding with certain months as well too, with history, for example. I know in June we had a pronouns workshop we did as well too. Students got to make their own pins, for example, about the pronouns. That was great. And for example, in the past, we've done other things like Undocumented Student Action Week, which we have coming up next month, for example. And one of our popular kind of our, say, support groups that we have 2 support groups, Undocumented Chats, and we have our Lavender Chats. And Undocumented Chats really is about community building. It's really about making sure students have a safe space to talk about the issues that affect them as well too. And we do partner with a mental health professional as well too. So when we have these conversations, there's someone to kind of kind of, rein things in a little bit if things are getting out of hand for someone and maybe they need someone to talk to a little bit. We have that partnership going on. And so the goal is to really support our students and make sure that they have a safe space really again. But these are more geared towards those students. We want more inclusive of anyone who's DACA, ABI-40 or undocumented, or even a mixed status family. And so as long as the space can be respected that way, we kind of welcome that as well. And want to make sure that our students have a space where they can speak their minds and thoughts on things and issues that are bothering them or worries they have as well too. And the goal really is to make sure they're supported. But we also want to make sure they get something out of this time. So maybe time management, for example, practicing self-care, how to relieve stress and anxiety, because both our communities faces a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety all the time. So we want to make sure they're supported that way. And then moving on to our lavender chat here, our support group here, actually, students want to talk about coming out as LGBTQ+, or their identities as far as, gender nonconforming, for example, non-binary, trans students as well too, or even the hardships that they're facing as well too, or even how to deal and navigate a workspace as well too. Those are a lot of questions that come up. And so we want to make sure we have that space, again, partner with another mental health professional. It's a different individual. And so we work together with our students and have that space for them as well too. Because we currently have two spaces, we use one of our spaces right now currently to have like a completely kind of confidential meeting. The students can come and use a regular space. And then for those meetings spaces, we do use the other space in order to make sure students can have a place to go talk and they can feel like no one's going to listen in on the conversation because everyone there is part of that support group. And so we want to make sure our students feel empowered and there's a lot of support from us in a lot of ways that may need it. And so through these conversations, we may find out students may have other needs, and that can also inform us about what workshops we may need to do or what we can do better. But the goal is to make sure students, first and foremost, have a safe space in these conversations, in these support groups. And these are peer-led as well. And then just a kind of a brief sort of summary here, future and past events. I want to highlight, we have two upcoming events that we're planning, one in October 17th to the 21st, again, for our PCC students, and we have an undocumented student action week. The state of California does this with community colleges, and so they want to have as much reach as possible for our students, how to support them. And so we have our own events that we're planning as well too, a painting event, an event on entrepreneurship, how to kind of go about that. We're also going to be providing in this year, fall 2022, this workshop's going to have like a headshot components for students who are trying to be entrepreneurs. You want to have a nice presentable headshot, for example, to kind of put out there for business reasons. So we want to provide that for our students as well. We're also doing a movie screening as well, and also how to navigate financial aid as an undocumented student as well. How do you go about getting or paying for school? What are the options for yourself? There's the California Dream Act, and then also, of course, other resources as well. So we want to highlight that during Undocumented Student Action Week as a sort of theme of how can we support our students? Together we all can, right? And then we also have a pronouns campaign that we're working on as well too. We're trying to coincide it for November, and the goal is kind of to show visible support for our students as well too on campus. Who are your allies on campus? Students who are walking around. We still have plans how we can execute it, but currently the tentative plans are, for example, pins and shirts as well to highlight student support as well too. Those what we have for now as well for upcoming events in the near future. We also in the past have done like sip and paint events. They're really popular. Students get to paint and learn about some sort of aspect as well, some sort of actionable goal, something they can learn and get out of that event, some sort of outcome where they can take that and practice that. Maybe it's SMART goals, maybe it's mindfulness, right? So we've done that in the past. Those are really popular. I think I mentioned that I make a pronouns pin workshop in June. We just hosted that. We have game nights as well too, monthly as well. Our students get to come and play games. It's a little bit later in the evening, and video games to cardboards as well too, right? But the goal is a space for our students. Movie screenings as well too, and I can mention undocumented graduation, lavender graduation, and then once a month, Cadison, we do have what we call our immigration polytalks. And just the lawyers again, sort of leading. Hey, what's the current political climate? Where are we with DACA? What are the current things happening in the political climate, things to keep in mind. And it's also a space where students can ask questions for, not maybe specifically to them, because this could be confidential, but maybe a question about like, how does this visa work, for example? How does advanced parole work? Or how does one do that? So questions like that generally can be answered as well. And if students need further advice and help, they can go ahead and then book a one-on-one with our Cadison allies as well too. So we have a website just for that, so our students can find that information. Of course, we guide them through that as well. And so just kind of, that's pretty much the general gist of it for the events. And one last little program we have is our Quest Scholars Program to make sure our students are prioritized with academic counseling, career support, social and emotional support. And the goal really is to make sure that our students are, and they want to take advantage of that, how to succeed and get out of here, not get out of here, but finish their academic studies in whatever their goal is to thrive as well too. So if their goal is to transfer, by being a Quest scholar, is something that they enroll in within us, and our success coach works with them to make sure they have certain goals. They're meeting them to make sure they're on track for whatever they want to succeed at as well too, while they're here at PCC and with us as well too. So our goal again at the end is to make sure that we're just sort of closing the equity gap. We want to make sure that our students are basically on campus are getting sort of equitable access to a lot of the resources, and to make sure they're reaching higher education, or even if they don't want to reach higher education, necessarily they finish whatever the current goals are as well too, or whatever in between and around that. And that's really their goal, to make sure students are successful that way. And again, through a holistic approach as well too. I believe a little bit here on screen, you can see kind of just where to follow us. Instagram is definitely our most popular platform, I think, PCC Quest. You can follow us there and see what events we're doing, or a link tree to our events where students can sign up for. And again, as long as our students are Pasadena City College students, we'll be able to help them, whether it's 1 credit or 16 credits or more. Our students are welcome here, and they can take advantage of the resources that we have, even if they're like a non-credit student. As long as they're a student of Pasadena City College, we'll be able to assist them as well too. And this is pretty much what I have to share at the moment. I'm going to end this, stop sharing the screen here, but I'd like to know if there are any questions for myself, either about the Quest Center or anything I may have covered that there may be one clarification on. I'd be glad to answer those questions here right now as well.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I am actually not a PCC student, but I am a library science student. So I'm attending this as an assignment to kind of do some research on outreach programs that public libraries do. So I was wondering kind of if the Quest Center also partners with the library on campus at PCC, or I guess just a little bit about how that works.
That's a great question. I think that's definitely one of the things we're trying to do, I think, is the challenges, I think, breaking down any kind of, I wouldn't say barriers necessarily, but silos, I think they call it. And so within an institution, how do we partner? So I know necessarily the library, as far as to my knowledge, I've been here since July. But however, though, I do know that we've partnered with the Cross-Cultural Center on campus. I know we're doing like an LGBTQ mixer. I believe they're planning that, or they are planning that, and they've invited us to be part of it. I know, for example, we have an event on Saturday coming up here. We're going to be sort of tabling as well too. And so I think it happens with us sort of as we start moving, we get ideas like, what are the best ways to make sure we have outreach, on campus? How do we know this? Make sure that students know that we're here on campus, who we are, what we do. And we still, I think, are working through that. So along the way, any feedback that people have for us, that students have for us, we love to hear it, because we can improve our services even more and have more outreach. So just to answer that question, to my knowledge, I don't know that we have had it. However, though, I think there definitely can be opportunities as we see fit as well too, getting things together, coordinating. And so there's always, I realize there's a lot of that can happen in a lot of different places. And so not for us as a Quest Center, but I think as an institution. And so I think that's definitely one of the goals, is to keep partnering with other folks, and how do we bridge that, and how do we connect, and how do we work together to kind of make sure that we can support our students. At the end of the day, it's for our students. And so nothing to my knowledge yet, but I think that's actually a good idea. And as long as we can fit something that works for them and ourselves, of course, with the scheduling and everything, but also like what would sort of be interesting, I think that would be, of course, an amazing idea.
Awesome, thank you.
Servando, I have a couple of questions. Just I'm curious. You serve the students, and I wondered about, certainly in the last several years, I mean, the climate, political, health, just tremendous challenge and change, and sort of a lot of turmoil. So I'm wondering, first of all, you have some wonderful resources and all of that. I'm wondering, do you have the ability to share resources that students that might encounter moments of crisis or urgency outside of the hours that they can be on campus or at the Quest Center can use to contact, if they need help in some area? And particularly, I'm also interested in whether do you extend the use of resources beyond, say, the student themselves, if it's an undocumented student who may also maybe have a family member or a relative or somebody with perhaps legal questions or issues, if there's an ability to sort of extend out toward assisting and helping that student thrive so that they don't have to be stressed out about their family members and so forth.
That's a great question. Let me start with the last part of that question. The way our grant has been set up with the state, the services for free immigration labor services only extend to the students on campus, the PC student, and so they have to be the recipient of the services. However, my understanding from the last meeting we had with the Polytalks this month actually, for CSUs, actually Cal State universities in California, the cadets services, the immigration services can extend to family members as well too. The extension of that I'm a little unclear about, but it does go beyond the student who's a recipient. But at Pasadena City College, unfortunately, it's only just the student has to be the recipient of the services. If someone was petitioning for them, for example, to adjust their status, or if, for example, they're the ones who are doing like a renewal fee, for example, or DACA renewal, they have to be the recipient, at least at PCC, community college level. And that's just something that's definitely out of our control there. To the other part of the question, what other services can students sort of find? We do have, as far as I know, we don't necessarily have a hotline the way we're set up right now. Currently, we're here in a day until 5 p.m. We don't have necessarily an offline hotline thing after hours at the moment. However, though, we do have resources that we can partner with our students to give them outside resources. So if they are navigating their challenges or difficulties, we will look for that information and kind of get that to our students as well too. And then, we pull our information together as resource advocates and as a staff and with our coordinator, Desiree as well too. Everybody will work together to make sure that our students are being served. And so we track that information and make sure in the future, hey, I've used the service, let's continue to use the service for our students outside of what we can offer here. But I know that it's something that we would love to have a little longer hours, be here a little bit longer throughout the day to serve our students, because I believe our library closes around 9, maybe 10 p.m. I believe. So we would love to kind of match that a little bit. But those are just sort of more other challenges that are outside of the purview of what we can do in the moment. And so ideally, we would love to do that. We would like to kind of get to that point and then have a space maybe where our students can sort of reach us and, hey, after hours, here's information you can get for you. So I think that's kind of good feedback here. Like maybe what can we do more? What else can we do differently to make sure our students can seek that information if we're not available to pick up a phone, for example? So great question. Thank you.
Another question is, I'm assuming you have a lot of staff or folks volunteering there who speak English and Spanish. Do you have folks who speak languages other than English and Spanish to help students?
That's a great question. And we have one student as well too, who is heritage. They're from Mongolia as well too. However, though, yes, we don't necessarily have too many languages covered outside of Spanish and English. And so that is something that I think as we grow we're sort of about 2 years old of age for this center. I think as we grow, that's something that we want to think about. How can we partner on campus? How can we get translation services for students? In the past, we've had to do things like, we had to kind of manage along the way with using technology, and technology isn't really at that point where it's like speaking to a person. So, we're using translation services. So we definitely have challenges there to kind of grow there as well too. And that's definitely something that we're definitely thinking about. How can we meet those needs for students so we can be even more inclusive, be more welcoming of the space. And so that's definitely something that we want to get towards as well too, and be at that level. I know we're not currently at that level, and I know that we would love to be at that level and find a way, a solution. All the staff here that work here are either hourly or their salary, I think, but really they're employees, what I'm trying to say. And so we don't have any like student volunteers, except outside of maybe like a student liaison. But generally speaking, everyone is on staff as well. So, we'd love to get to that point at some point. And I think that's one of the challenges that we have to face, I think, as a space, like how can we be more inclusive?
I'm amazed that you went up and running just as everything shut down. So you are doing a tremendous amount. It looks like you offer a tremendous amount of really helpful services and support. And that's amazing. I'm really happy to know you're there, and being at the library right across the street, the public library right across the street, we'll be really glad to be able to sort of, let people know you're there. And as far as students, I know it has to be students, but we get quite a few students, and I'm not sure I don't know. How do you advertise yourselves? How do you let yourselves be known on campus as a place for folks to come?
Oh, so being back on campus, we have one of our resource advocates, Bryce, and they've been really great about getting their promotion really out there. So on campus, there are screens within some of the buildings, so the students can walk by and they have like different advertisements. And so we're on those as well too, so they can see our weekly support groups, for example, Lavender Chat and Undocumented Chat, for example. They see that on there. Also on campus, especially in the main quad, we've gotten, I don't know what the word is for these, but it's sort of just like little signs, little A-shaped signs. And so they're double-sided. They just talk about the Quest Center and just at a glance, all the services that we offer. And the goal is just to kind of do more outreach that way. We also have a Caresen legal fellow student who is through Caresen, they're getting like a stipend throughout the year. And the goal is to make sure that they can talk about our immigration services, promoting those services. And so we're working currently on that to, now being back on campus, how do we make sure we can reach students? And so we're in the early stages of working through that process, and so we can get into classrooms and actually just talk about it, whatever time the student professor can give us of their classroom. So that's one of the options as well too. And then social media, a lot of it on campus. And a lot of it, some students are also word of mouth. Some students have found out from another friend or another classmate about us as well too, actually. And the video I showed at the beginning, that video has been very popular. We've shown it to a lot of students who are first year experienced students, FYE pathways, they call it. And that's in the program on campus to make sure students, they sign up for that. They kind of get like fast track for registration, and also making sure they have like their math and their English and, their core classes covered. And then through that, they kind of visit the campus as well too. And they go to all the centers, all the empowerment centers, all the spaces on campus, what it is they do there as well too. And so we have students that come back and it's like, oh yes, I remember you from this video you all showed me. And so that's great. So that's one other way that we've been supported by outreach. Students are finding out what are the spaces on campus, what do these places do? That way the student can connect that with what their needs are. And so we're still got some work to do there, I think, but I think there's always work to do. And so that's some of the ways we're doing that right now to tackle that, to provide visibility to the space.
Excellent, thank you.
Of course. Any other questions as well too for me? And no problem. And I do want to highlight that one of the person speaking today, I by no means, there have been people here who have been here before me, who are no longer here as well to space, who started the space when they opened up the space as well too. And so I feel like credit to the Quest Center staff now as well too, who's here before me, and also currently I work with as well. Without their help, that tremendous help in order to really care about what's going on here. We definitely, I think, I don't know that we could have successes that we have now as well too. So I definitely want to say I am just humbled to be part of this group here, to be able to assist in the mission of providing support for our students. So I'm just glad to be here to work and assist in that and keep that sort of relay race, keep that baton going, so to speak. I might have screwed up the metaphor there, but
no, it's wonderful. We really appreciate you doing this presentation, and I think this information is very helpful for a lot of people, a lot of students, their families, to know that their loved ones are supported and have a place to go that's safe and welcoming. And it's just great. Thank you so much.
No problem. And if anyone else has any questions, I'd be glad to as well. You're welcome, of course. Thank you, Marva. Let's see here. Okay, I will. If nothing else, I guess that concludes our recording, right?
Okay, yes, that will conclude our recording. I appreciate your time, and hopefully maybe we can work with you again in the future. Will you all be representing at, I know the library and the city are doing some stuff for Coming Out Day on October 11th, National Coming Out Day. Are you all participating in that in any way, or?
Not to my knowledge, no, actually. I think this might be one of the first times we've partnered with the city of Pasadena, the library. So I think that's just one of those things as we do more outreach. And I think one of those things is that I think we still want to address the students on campus and reaching out. And so I think we want to get to that point where we're doing external outreach as well too, for people who are thinking about going to PCC. It's like, what would I get out of my time there? What are my resources there? And we want to just highlight our services to make sure students know, hey, there are also these services for students here on campus, whether it's like it's one unit or a whole load of units as well too. Our students have a space here as well.
Well, hey, maybe we can come get some flyers and bring them to a table at I think we're going to be at City Hall for National Coming Out Day, whatever the events are that are going on with the city and the public library. So if you have any kind of literature or something you want us to to sort of bring along, or you want to talk to Natasha at some point more about, you know, if that's an opportunity, but anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm right across from you here, and
Yeah.
building by the tennis court, so we can.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure I can walk it over one day and be like, "Hello."
Yes, that would be great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Servando.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we can talk more about what we do here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.